Hi everyone, and welcome back to my podcast, Educational Insights, where we deep dive into the world of education. On today's podcast, we will be following the journey of a student named Jake, who suffers from attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or most known as ADHD. During this podcast, we will be discussing further on ADHD and the impacts it has on Jake. Before we begin, I would like to start by introducing Jake. Who is Jake? Jake is an 18-year-old male student born here in Australia. He identifies as Anglo-Australian and is fluent in English. He comes from a medium socio-economic background and was raised by his single father as an only child. Sadly, Jake has suffered with ADHD for most of his life and has come face to face with many challenges. He finds it hard to focus, staying organized and up to date with all things related to his academics, and finds it hard to regulate his behaviors and emotions. Although these are all negatives, I would like to point out that despite all this, Jake is a brilliant athlete competing for his school at the state level. So I want to talk a little bit about Jake's biological lens. So the biological lens relates the most to understanding Jake and his further development. What is ADHD? It is a neurodevelopment disorder that disrupts a person's brain function, mostly relating to focusing, attention, and behaviors. For example, in Jake's case, this would affect him when reading, as it requires a long amount of time sticking to one thing. In saying that, his biology is also correlated to his athletic talent. He shows coordination, strength, energy, thriving in areas that involved anything physical related. As we take a deeper look, we as educators must utilize his strengths and support him in any way needed to cater for Jake. How does ADHD impact Jake's academic performance? As I previously mentioned before, ADHD affects the attention span during tasks that require focus. According to my research, students like Jane that suffer with ADHD tend to struggle more trying to sustain attention, impulsive issues, organization, and following instructions. For example, Jake has developed struggles with motivation, confidence, and feels misunderstood as he doesn't function the same way as his classmates. Both his peers and teachers don't fully understand his disorder and what support he needs to succeed, which makes it harder for him to want to be open to learn. As we know, ADHD can affect your academics, but can also affect your emotional health. Frustration, anxiety, and low self-esteem are only some impacts people who suffer with this condition go through. It is said that emotional dysregulation is a shared aspect when struggling with ADHD, as individuals tend to create negative thoughts and give themselves regular stress. For example, as Jake doesn't do as well as others on an academic level, whether that's keeping up to date on tasks or trying to focus during class, he feels unwanted stress, frustration, and doubt in himself, which over time can build up if no assistance or help has been provided to him. So how can we provide Jake with the proper assistance and care he needs? Well, as I was researching, it highlighted that if given the right support, aid, and environment by teachers, family, and friends, students with ADHD will be able to succeed on an emotional and academic level. Examples of strategies: making a big task smaller, giving him steps, sections to work on first, providing Jake with regular breaks, doing small things like positive reinforcement, and praising little successes. Physical activity can improve one's attention span, impulsivity reduce, and boost mood and well-being for students diagnosed with ADHD. So just to touch on the immediate and future impact on ADHD, so with the immediate academic struggles, so that's concentrating, organized, poor grades, missing assignments or not completing them, social challenges, so impulsive, can't listen, feelings of isolation, behavioral issues, so impulsive actions, talking a lot, relentless when sitting still too long, and emotional stress, frustration, low self-esteem, anxiety, and short-term depression. And for future, underachieving academically, so no support, affects graduation or high opportunities, career challenges, so organization, time management, job performance, and career achievement, and with relationships, social struggles, maintaining professional and personal relationships, and mental health, chronic frustration, developing anxiety, and depression. To be able to support your students with disorders like ADHD, teachers must be able to adapt, be flexible, and know their learners to change their teaching styles to accommodate. This means adding in structured routines, clear rules and expectations of the students, visual schedules, mindfulness sessions to help students focus, create social skills groups, providing peer support tailored to students, applying positive reinforcement, making an inclusive environment, and regular breaks during sessions. So that concludes my episode of Educational Insights. Hopefully I was able to share helpful facts and my own personal thoughts on ADHD and how to support students struggling with it. Thank you for listening, and I hope to catch you on my next podcast.